G'day YouTube, my name's Lance, welcome to Bundy Bear's Shed. Well, the weather report, look, 9 to 23, it's a bit overcast today, it's not looking the best. I have a look at Higgins storm chasing and things like that, and they're saying there's a bit of a cold snap and possibly a bit of rain comes up from down south on Thursday. So it's Wednesday now, I'm a day late. Oh, bloody lucky we got one at all. Yesterday afternoon, Jude and myself just finished running around town picking up the rally signs and all the banners and making sure that was okay. And Monday, we had the grounds Monday, the Bundaberg Recreational Precinct, and yeah, Monday we made sure all the gear was off and cleaned toilets and all that. The toilets, we had a person doing it and they finished Sunday, but we still had a few campers overnight, so we had to do a bit of a tidy up on the toilets. But they were telling me that they'll have a cleaner in there to come past us. And Jude and I went and made sure we mopped floors and all that late Monday afternoon just to make sure the club didn't get a bill. I didn't know how fussy they were going to be with it. So the ground's all signed off and they're all happy, and it was a good thing. Saturday we copped a caning with the weather. Thursday, Friday, and that was a great set-up days, went well. The blokes on the tractor trek went out to Nev Cayley's place. They had a good time and they got a bit lucky, and on the side of the road they could stop and watch some sugarcane being cut. So for the people from out of town, that's interesting. It's like us, we people that live in a sugarcane area, if we go there and we see a bit of cotton being cut or something, we might pull up on the side of the road and have a look at that. So we could do that for our tractor trekkers. There was 20 tractors, I think they were saying, but you know, somewhere around that. And yeah, they went out to Nev's and had a cup of tea and mucked around like that. So came back and everyone was happy, no one got wet. Friday night the rain come in and it pissed down. At home here we got 36 millimetres, and in at the rally grounds, well, it just rained. Not pouring, but rain all day Saturday. And so our first day of our rally, it was pretty ordinary. The weather put a damper on things. We still had people through the gate and things like that, but we had vendors pull out and things like that. It just didn't quite work. The bar area down the bottom, like they have a fully covered bar area, but you have to sit outside. So we moved that up into a large undercover area we had, and we got the vendors under there, like the Donut Man and the Liz's Fudge, Cake's Gone Wild, that's my mate Tim's wife, beautiful fudge, and Narelle, she had ointments and balms and anything for coughs, colds and sore holes, I think. And but anyway, the rally, overnight the rain cleared on Saturday night, and so we did a thing with the public that if they bought a ticket on Saturday, we would honour that ticket again Sunday, so they could have a bit of a look and go for a wander through. And Sunday it was busy. We had people everywhere. We had over 540 people through the gate. So so that worked well. The tractor pull down the bottom, we've got a tractor pull place where we can put grandstands and that, so we had that set up, but the ground was a bit soft, and when we did a couple of tractor pulls, they couldn't get grip really. It wasn't much of a show Saturday, and Saturday afternoon, all the boys, they got all their gear there, they're getting a bit, what can we do? And my mate Timmy's got a V8 Cummins in a Massey Harris, and he said, what do you say I put that on? And there was about 10 of us down the bottom, and I said, yeah, bugger it, so put her on. So they put her on, then we had Dave Sow from Brisbane with his Oliver with a big V8 Cat in it, and he gave that a squirt, and I got in a bit of trouble for that, but that was still worth it. Because it was a modified tractor, it shouldn't have been on, but and I got pinged, they got no insurance, and I was, and we did talk about that, they knew it, and it was only like 10 of us down there, something like that, so. And I looked along the fence before I gave it the go-ahead, and I knew everyone, and I knew there was no trouble. So they got a couple of pulls in, and yeah, none of that's getting on Facebook. It's just, you know, not the good. At a vintage machinery rally like ours, it's something I shouldn't have done, but it was bloody fun. So we let it rip for a couple. Well, I think it was 3 pulls, and it was after, like, everyone had gone home. There was no public around. It was just, you know, what do we do now apart from go up there and start drinking? So anyway, we moved the bar up into a covered area, and we had a fire pit there, and we spent a few hours just up there chewing the fat, having a couple of snappy ones, and enjoying ourselves. Then Sunday, the sun come out and the place was full, and we had the tractor pull going, and we had a grand parade. We had 42, I didn't count them, but someone told me we had 42 tractors in the grand parade, plus cars. We had a proper steamroller, Mike Gallagher's steamroller there. Yeah, it was just an interesting thing. We were going around the long way for the grand parade, and then we were trying to come in through where everyone would be with it, then up one engine compound, and we had 3 big engine compounds, and then back down the other one, and there's an intersection, so the ones going right could go there, we could go there, get back to square one where we started. So that worked well. One of the highlights for me was that we put a couple of the young blokes through, junior members. So in our club, a junior member is between 10 and 17. You can't become a member till you're 10, but between 10 and 17 you're a junior member, and you still have insurance and all. You can still have insurance and all that sort of thing, but you can participate in a few things, but you can't drive tractors, and you can have an engine in the compound, but we have to do a little course and sign you off in it. So a couple of our members, Greg Upman and Ray Fermoil, they took that on, and Lachlan Kemp, the 3 of them were down there, and we had Oliver Singh and JC Dossel there. And JC, he's the son of Dino and Nikita. You know, he's their young fella, and so that bought Queensland tractor spares off me. So yeah, he was all over it. I gave him that little TE20, the little brown one that I did up on the channel. I gave him that for the weekend, and I said, "There you go, young fella, just knock yourself out, you know, run her out of juice, do what you like." And well, they had them on the balancing beam. Well, originally they just had them going round and round and stop. Okay, off you go, and stop. And then I saw Greg up, and JC was driving along on my little tractor, and Greg just got his hat and threw in front of him, and bang. And he's a very switched on young bloke with his tractors. Like he was all over it, as in alert to his surroundings. And I think Oliver was too, but I didn't see Ray pop his hat down. And that was one-on-one. And in the end, they had a bug around on the tractor balancing thing. And the tractor balancing beam that we use, it's quite easy to balance. It's got a flat base on it, so you can sort of get it to rock and hold. So for the young blokes, it's good. It probably needs a bit of pipe underneath it, just a couple of bits of pipe welder, just to make it a little bit harder to balance. But anyway, they got to start somewhere. It was a good thing, and that was a highlight, signing these young blokes off and getting their photos taken and put on the Facebook page and things like that. I really enjoy getting the young ones involved. We got about 10 new members because of the rally. People in town that actually had their gear in town, and they'd never, because nothing was going on in town much. You know, we go to shows and we'd support other events, but we hadn't had our own. People joined up so they could bring their tractors and bits and pieces that they had at home, and they didn't have to travel a million miles to get there. So look, it was a good thing like that. Talking to the treasurer yesterday, and he was saying yesterday we might have even made money on it. And look, I'm not sure if we did or not. If we made money this year with a washout Saturday, yeah, there's certainly a big future for it. I had Craig and Cindy and them from the QHR, which is a Queensland Heritage Rally. That's our ACRA, and Craig's president, I'm 2IC, Cindy's secretary and Dave's treasurer, and we had all them there, and they're pushing for a Queensland Heritage Rally at the grounds, and the ground has great drainage, and they were saying, like, if that was at Billawheeler where they had their last one, and we had 36 millimetres of rain, she would have been shut shop. And And so it's a terrific ground for what we'd like to do. And look, we're not saying no to a QHR in the future, a full Queensland Heritage Rally in the future, but we just got to crawl before we walk. So yeah, I told them back off. I said, look, we're not against it. It's just we got to learn what to do. And being our first rally, and I was the Grand Poobah and the fat controller. And my mate Laurie that's got a Minneapolis Moline, and I've been helping him with a John Deere 2030. He bought his Kubota RTV 900 it might be. Anyway, it's a side-by-side Kubota he bought in for me, because he said, here old fella, you bloody, he calls me Big Bad Lance. Now he's calling me Big Bad Hollywood. But he brought that in for me to run around in, and oh boy, it was just a great thing. Like I would have been buggered without it. RDO, the John Deere people, they supplied 2 gators. And Laurie was telling me, he says, oh, you know, with the gators, you've got to have the seatbelt on for the handbrake releases and all that, but the Kubota, you could just jump in and go. And so the two RDO gators, Kempy had one, he was the first aid man, and General Rouseabout, like, you know, he'd go and help people do this and keep an eye on everything, you know, just help out. And Alan, our secretary, Alan's over 80 now, and he had one, and that got him, that was his legs, and I had the Kubota. And look, it worked a treat for us all. We could get things where we wanted it quickly. If I saw an old bloke putting around, you know, hobbling around, I'd say, come on, jump in, because I know every bugger. And I'd say, come on, jump in. So I'd chuck someone in next to me, and we go for a tootle around and show them things. And I'd say, where do you want to be dropped off? And I'd drop them off near the tractor pull or near the engines or wherever they wanted to be. I'd drop them off just to help. And I also used the RTV to, as the trucks were coming in down the back, I'd pop up and say g'day and welcome everyone. Welcome to people coming in, and they liked that. It was mentioned they enjoyed that. So, but the Treasurer is still working through the figures. The council, must be a message coming in my phone. Yeah, the back gate, there's a back exhibitor gate. We had people wanting to come in there, but we didn't have any ticket sales there because we had this big ticket outlet up the front. So there's things like that. We had to have people there all the time. We've worked that out, how we could do that better next year. We've sat down, myself, Tim and Alan, and you know, the main movers and shakers for the rally. We've been chatting constantly since on what we could do better and how we could make a better go of it. Yeah, some people, you know, we're grateful for volunteers, but some people that volunteered, their heart was in it, but they didn't have the skill to pull the job off. And we've got a few little messy areas we need to tidy up and work with, and that's fine. You know, that's just, we're grateful that people hopped up and had a go. And now we know, you know, we know their level of capability or stress or whatever it might be. We can work with that. So yeah, look, it was a great thing. I went down and had a talk to the council next year. The council popping the keys back and putting a report, and they said, oh, what do you want to do next year? So I've booked the site for next year. The lady that we work with the office, Simone, the deal was that once we had the whole area, apart from the big main pavilion in the centre, which was like it's a 120 seat conference room and commercial kitchens and all that sort of thing in there. We didn't have that, but they weren't going to lease it out. But anyway, while she was away, she got a dicky leg. Something happened to her foot, and she's been off work, and someone thought they were doing a good thing, booking that venue out with disco roller skaters in there. Well, what a mob of bloody arseholes. I was having a bit of a blue with them, and the council told me that they were all apologies, and they said, but they're coming in there, you've got to let them in the back gate, and you can't stop them because they've paid. And I said, all right. And then they'll have access from the back car park through. So if you think of a square, we had people coming up this side, we had the office here where people registered, then they went across there to the rally grounds. So they said, we can't go across there, put a A-frame in the way, and they said, we've got the whole building there and there's nothing you can do, and they're just mob arseholes, bloody. the bloke was a pom, and the Sheila, she could swear as good as me. And so they just weren't nice people to get on with. And so anyway, I had a bit of a blue with them, but that's all right. I'm happy with the blue. And anyway, I was in the toilets. Like we paid for one set of toilets and the cleaners and all that for the toilets, and I was in there having a leak up against the urinal there, and here's all these skating kids blowing in one door and out the other of the toilets. And that wasn't their worry, because they had their toilets inside. You know, we could lock the doors if we want. Well, how do you lock the doors when you got public there that need the toilet? So just turds. So the groundsman asked me to put in a report on that, because it wasn't not the right thing to do. And then he come and saw me and he said, "Hey Lance, you got this big pavilion, which was a skating area, and then there's this conference room with tables and chairs and the kitchen and the whole bit, and that's where the glass doors were, where they put the A-frame up and told us we couldn't go through there because they had the lot." And they said to me, "Did you use that conference room?" And I said, "No, we didn't even have a key. Well, we didn't even try the key. Yeah, we didn't know." But I said, "The skaters had that." I said, "They said they could come in that door. They had all that, and they actually wanted us to let their skaters through the main gate where our ticket sales were, and anyone that wanted to come through that said they were skating could come into our event for free." And I said, "No, F off." And then the lady said, "Oh, did you tell me I got to tell our mob to F off?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." So she went and got her hubby. "Did you tell him to F off?" I said, "I bloody did." "Well, we can't have that. What are we going to do about it?" And I said, "You do what you like, mate. I'm right here, right now." And nothing happened. Yeah, so they're just pricks. And so the council got onto me and said, "Yeah, did you have that?" And I said, "Look, 8 o'clock Friday night, we're trying to pack everything up and make engines secure. And look, we got people with thousands of dollars worth of gear on site, and we've got kids running around, and these people not being able to talk civilly to you." And but I said, all that conference room area where the carpet is and all that, that was full of people. I just thought it was theirs. They said, "Oh no, they didn't rent any of that. Even though there's glass doors there, they're supposed to leave them locked. They're not allowed in there." And apparently they went in the conference room, and it's all carpet and everything, beautiful little joint, and made a hell of a mess. So they'll be hearing about that, I imagine. But we had nothing to do with it. Then when I said about them putting an A-frame up and not letting our exhibitors pass, they said, "Well, a road is a common area, you can't do that." So that was the only bit of a yike for the bloody time. Nothing serious, nothing I couldn't handle. But I'd prefer not to have had to bother with it. So anyway, when I was in at the council yesterday putting my report in on what's good and what's bad. The other thing that they could do better is it's a good loading ramp, but it's a very high one for semis. And they've redone the drainage, and now the semis have to go up and screw in hard to it. There's not much room in front of it, and the bigger blokes, they can't stay straight because there's this gravel ditch there. So I reckon if they could move that back 5 or 6 metres, it'd make a big difference. So anyway, they ask us for input, so we've told them all that. So I've booked the entire grounds for the second weekend in August. Next year, 2026, I've booked the whole pavilion where the skaters were. I've booked the conference room. We've booked the full industrial kitchen. We've booked the whole lot. So we shouldn't have half of the hassles that we had this year. And this year was a set-up year. We knew we were going to, we all knew it was a learning curve, and we went really well with it, I believe. I got on ABC radio a couple of days before to have a bit of a chat about what we were doing on Wide Bay Radio. Donna, one of our members that did the Facebook page, did a terrific thing. Like, if I reckon you would have all been sick of the Facebook posts, but we were out there and we were pushing and pushing and pushing. And if we had a bit of fine weather on our side, who knows what would have happened. We had great support from Format Machinery, and they're the local Kubota dealer. They gave us a tilt tray for, like, even come out home and picked up my forklift and dropped it off yesterday, Monday, and things like that. And terrific support, and Nathan couldn't do enough for us. RDO, the John Deere people, they gave us the gators and come and put on a display. Sings, the Massey Ferguson dealer in town, they put a couple of big Massies there and a banner, and so we had them there. We had rows of like TE20s and 35s and the Massey Ferguson products, and we had Dino from Queensland Tractor Spares with the ag leader Hutchie and that up the end there. So so that worked well. Day on Coyote, the Coyote people come along. They're good to get on with. Yeah, they put on a display of their new gear, and when you come in the entrance, there's a big long walkway. We let them put a couple of tractors. You know, or anyone could put a couple of tractors along there, as long as it didn't leak oil. So talking to Nathan from Format, and that little Kubota that I was racing around in, all my mates are teasing me. They said at the end of the weekend they're going to have surgery to get your ass off that seat. And I said, I reckon so. I love this bloody thing. And so talking to Nathan at Format Machinery and being the Kubota dealer, I said, do you get any second-hand ones of these? And he said, oh, as a matter of fact, I do have a couple from the orchards. And they've got a little bit of rust in the floor. Apparently that's something Kubotas do, a bit of rust in the floor. And some of them have a patch of rust on the chassis at some place that they must just do, I don't know. Haven't been for a look yet. So he said, come and have a look, and we'll do a deal on one. Because he said, oh, they haven't had time, they've been that busy, haven't had time to put them through the shop there as they come off the farm. And I said, that just sounds like what I want. Yeah, I'm a bit of a fiddler, so I could grab one and put it on the hoist here and cut any rust out and diddle around. They're fairly late model ones, so I've got no idea what to expect. So I said to Jude, I'm going in to have a look, and Jude's telling Greg up and me mate, she says, you know when he goes to have a look, that means I'm going to buy one, doesn't it? And he says, your missus is on to you. She says, when you're going to look at these Kubotas, she said, you'll probably have to take the trailer and come home with one. And I said, well, we'll see. But look, it was a great thing. Saved my legs. Gave the little tray in the back, gave us something to, like we had a bloke backed over a star picket and broke it off and things like that. Just little things, and it gave us somewhere to put some signs and bits and pieces. So great thing. So, pardon me. So I thought, my mate Laurie went crook. At the end of the weekend, I thought I'll fuel it up for Laurie, put a bit of diesel in it, because what's a bit of diesel? And I rode that thing from, must have been Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday morning he took it off me and I had to have my hanky, and I was a bit upset about that. They were teasing me. I said, oh, he'd be no good, he'd be missing that thing all day, he'll have to walk somewhere. So, but yeah, and I thought, oh, well, he's done the nice, right, well, it was a nice gesture, and it was, even though he said it was for the club, I felt it was more for me personally, because we spoke about it in the shed here. And so after all that running around, I couldn't even, look, I might have got 15 litres of diesel in it maybe. And he said he filled it right up to start with, and the fuel gauge it was right over on full. And after a day or so I had to ask him, I said, that fuel gauge, is that broken? And he says, oh no, they run very cheaply. And I said, oh, okay. But I thought, yeah, anything else I'd been on, you'd be fueling it up the amount of running around. So I had spare diesel there. And but yeah, very economical to run. So anyway, today or tomorrow I'll pop in and have a look at these RTVs, and yeah, they've got. I think he was saying because they had a little bit of rust in them in the floor, workplace health and safety got up them. So I don't know how much rust yet. I don't know, but look, that's not a problem. I've got rollers and folders and bloody things like that, so I can sort that out. If it's cheap and it gives me a bit of something to do, because I've got nothing to do, eh? But I enjoy the process of restoring things and diddling around, so we'll have a look and see. But they're fairly late model apparently. Then there's two 4-seater ones. You might see one of the 4-seater ones running around up at NHMA. I don't know yet. My mate he works there, and he said, oh, he might hit him up because he's going with a family with kids, and he reckoned it'd be a lot easier to jam the kids in there and poke around for a look. So anyway, we'll see. So that might be on the cards coming up. I took 7 tractors into the rally, and Sunday afternoon, after the rally closed about 1 o'clock, I started shifting tractors, and we're still going into the dark, bloody shifting tractors. But and I wasn't the only one. Darren Hoskin, he had his tilt train. He bought 4 big cases in, and yeah, we'd bloody have a chat, sit on the trailer and have a chat. And I could come home, dump them off and go quick, but going to load them up again, everyone wanted to chat. So that took a while. So once it got dark, we'd have a beer. And I only had a couple to go, so we had a couple of beers and did a run back and forth. But they had to sit there till yesterday. I only got them back in yesterday afternoon late in the shed here, all packed away. Some of them need a wash. The little Farmer 100 I did up for the rally, it was well received. Oh, geez, I could have sold that a few times. And I said, just go away, you know, I haven't had a play yet. It's noisy in the gearbox, like they all are. And my mate Trevor from out at Toronto, Trevor Pincott, he's telling me, he says, oh, that tractor likes me and wouldn't mind coming home with me. I said, yeah, I just need a play first, just leave it here. And but it was noisy in the gearbox, and he's had some before, Farmer 100s and A's and V's, and I said, yeah, you reckon it's noisier than others? And he reckons, oh no, that's about how they are. So I said, oh, okay. So, and the 148, the Massey 148, we took that in, and yeah, one bloke recognised it from down Caboolture Wamuran way from Midway Sales, and he was pestering me to buy that. And I said, no, I bought it off because I like 148s, and you know, it needs work doing to it. Like the motor's a little bit smoky. It starts and runs well, but the motor's a little bit smoky. The hydraulics don't hold up when there's a load. And I said, you know, I bought it to do those things on the channel to get it all done. So I'm not selling it until I do that. But yeah, I've just about got the rally stuff tidied up. And I started last Wednesday full on rally, and today's Wednesday morning, and I've got some banners to wash yet and file and roll and put away. Some of the signs we picked up yesterday, I'll unscrew them off the posts and put them away. Like we can change the dates on them a little bit. Whether it's worth changing the date, you know, paying for that versus just getting new ones for next year, who knows. The thing for next year was that this time for Thursday, Friday, Saturday evening, we had a courtesy bus going to the Sugarland Tavern. We offered a free Friday night barbecue for exhibitors, and the difficult thing about that, and we're going to change this, is we had 85 people showed interest in it and said, yeah, they'll be there. And so, you know, we catered for 100 and we had 135 turn up, unannounced. And, you know, some of them in town brought the missus and all that. So, you know, they're a member and they don't, and it'll just be easy just to ring up and say, oh, me and the missus are coming. And there's no problem with your missus coming, but when you cater for 100 and you have 135 turn up, well, we had spare sausages and things like that for barbecue, so we had to draw on them and do that. So next year it'll be, it might be like a $5 prepaid barbecue and you've got to buy a ticket. And that way, when you're catering for it, we can cater properly, because when you've got 85 and you cater for 100, camera just timed out, but when you've got 135 roll in, it makes it hard. So some of the brekkie rolls and all that were used on Friday night and all that. So so I think it'll have to be a ticketed system. When we send our registrations out, we'll work with that. The $10 brekkies went really well. And the thing with the Friday night barbie was the couple that ran it, it was going to be 5 till 7. And, you know, that's just a thereabouts thing. And, well, when it come to 7, bang, stopped cooking. No, I'm not cooking anymore, it's 7 o'clock. And some of the members hadn't got a feed. Oh, bloody pissed me off when I heard that. You know, what would it matter cooking for another half an hour? And we had the sausages and all that there to go. You know, we had the gear to do it. But no, we told them 5 to 7. If they're not in at 7, they can miss out. So I didn't like that. The brekkies, the Kemp family, the boys, Russell and the 3 boys, they cooked the breakfast each day, and we did $10 brekkie rolls. And they were bacon and eggs and, you know, in a roll, and you could have a coffee and, you know, tea and coffee and all that there. And yeah, a couple of times, you know, they were cooking away, and you know, one of the other members would say, oh, well, that's enough, eh? You know, we pack up now. And they'd say, oh, no, hang on, no worries. You know, we've still got plenty. So each time after they were told to shut down and they stayed going, they made about $80, $90 for the club. So why would you be in a hurry to shut down? Like, bloody nuts. So there's things like that we've learnt this time that we'll fix up next time. I've hired the full conference room facilities there, and there's a full commercial kitchen on site, and the conference room will seat 120 people for a meal. So I've hired that. So we're going to look for a catering company in town that can supply a 3-course meal, something like a soup, a roast. We'd like roast meat and veggies, and roast meat and veggies for those caterers are a good thing. They can do them off site if they choose to, and bring them in and keep them hot and carve and serve the people. Roast beef, pork and chicken with roast veggies, and a dessert of some kind. And we're talking like apple crumble and the old style stuff, apple crumble, custard slice sort of things with a bit of cream or ice cream or something like that. So and the idea of that is if we can find a caterer, and I've got no idea of price, but if we can find a caterer that can do it for $25 a head for 120 people, and we can charge $35 a head, well, that'll help pay for getting the kitchen, and it'll give us a place to have a presentation dinner should we choose to. I'm not into trophies and shit. You have nice shiny tractors, and older blokes like just say myself and Jeff Parsons down south there and all that. We're old blokes. We know our way around tractors, and if either of us put our mind to it, we could bloody knock out a cracker of a tractor. And the other younger blokes coming through that are just learning, they're on a budget, bloody just getting into it. Well, we don't want to discourage them. So I'm not in favour of trophies. I think we all just get in there and enjoy ourselves. So we're also talking to a fella, one of the local auctioneers, and the old rallies in the past, we used to have great fun. We used to open the bar, get everyone half pissed, and between courses of the meal, you'd auction a few things off, and you get sponsorship, and say you get a bundle of ratchet straps from Queensland Tractor Spares and a bloody a drum of oil from the oil company and things like that. Well, you auction it off as a fundraiser for the club, and we've got a well-known auctioneer around the clear and sale traps, and Tim's talking to him about coming on board and doing the auction for us. He was keen on the weekend to be part of it. So yeah, we've got things in place. We've hired the full grounds, we've hired the kitchen, we've hired the full pavilion, so we can put market stalls and all in there should we choose. We can have the bar, we can have the big restaurant with 120 seats. Then out the back, we can have the bar and the bar ticket system. That was another thing, the bar ticket system. I wanted a ticket system in place to keep track of alcohol sales versus the till and all that. And we had a couple of blokes running it. And Friday night they didn't want to do tickets, and it was just a quiet little few of us anyway. And then the next day, well, we're not doing tickets. And I was thinking, well, we bought all this shit to keep track of things, and they didn't want to do it. Then they're just the wrong blokes, and they drank piss all weekend. Behind the bar, and just because you're sitting on this side of the bar, the customer side of the bar, and you know a lot about that, doesn't mean you know a lot about the other side. So, and a couple of times I went up and bought a beer ticket, and I was drinking Hahn 3.5s, and I'd say, oh yeah, Hahn 3.5 please, and they'd give it to me, and I'd take a step away and I'd still have my ticket. I'd say, hey, oh yeah, right. So how much of that went on? And people kept the tickets and all that, but at the end, I asked them to do a stock take in the cold room, and I've got the stock take sheet there, and it says like Great Northern Originals. There were 7 full cartons left, and I think 6 or 8 open stubbies. Now the deal with the publican was that any cartons that were unopened, undamaged, we could return for a credit, and he'd put the money back into our account. So on his stock take, we had 7 cartons of Great Northern Original, and I said, that can't work. He said, why is that? And I said, we only bought 6, so how can we sell grog all weekend? Anyway, he said, oh well, sort of not his worry, he's going. And so we've taken it back, a couple of the cartons, and Trevor the treasurer spoke to the pub about the coal room because they were just putting the cartons on the floor, and from the condensation they were getting a wet bum. And like Jude and I, we bought cartons that had, you're flat out picking them up, because the deal was any open cartons, any members that were helping out there could just have them for cost, what they cost the club. And so Jude and I, we took on all the harn, because those boxes were falling apart, and some of the Great Northerns, and I think we helped the club out $350 worth just to have it tidied up, because we didn't want hassles. And so if you're down my place in the future, come and have a beer. I've got plenty. And so there's things like that we got to deal with, and like they were, Trevor and Helen, when they were chatting to the public, and they said, put a pallet in, and a pallet on the top, on the floor, and then put the beer on the top, so the water wasn't there. And you'd think, we can't be the only people with that. But anyway, hell of a nice bloke, the public, and helpful fella. He's agreed to take it all back, and perhaps we'll put a pallet in next year. So all in all, the treasurer reckons we probably made money. I had a couple of bills, I reminded him of a few bills that had to be paid, that he seemed a bit, oh yeah. So look, if we make money, good. I'll be surprised. If we lose $1,000 or so, that's what I'm expecting. And the cards we were dealt were bloody good. Talking to the council yesterday, they've given me a link to get a council grant to get the grounds for free this coming year. And you can only do that once every 2 years. So this year, Judy and myself, we paid for all the grounds. Anything to do with the grounds, we grabbed the bill and did that as a help to the club. Next year, I'm going to try and put it through that we get a government grant, and the club still hasn't got to pay. So anyway, let's see how we go. But look, no shed work. I've been running around like a blue-ass fly. Just hooking in, trying to get shit done. I've still got little stuff to do, but I'm pulling back today, and I thought, well, it'll take time to have the stew. I haven't answered an email since last Wednesday, so if you've got an email or a question or a YouTube comment or something like that, and I haven't got back to you in a week, you'd be dead set true. Right, I haven't been back to you in a week. Once I get this video edited, I'll pop it out there, the Savo, and I've still got to put my computer, because I took all my computers and the big screens for the girls and all that sort of thing into use. And those bloody skating pricks, when they, instead of just arming their system with the whole security system, there's little sections, well, they went and armed ours. So Sunday we went to come into the office, to the exhibitor's office, to do paperwork and just check on things and all that. We set off all the alarms in the joint. So yeah, a bit of a hassle there. So we couldn't use the office Sunday. They armed, instead of arming the section they used, they armed everything. And our codes, we had codes for the security system for the front plaza entry, they call it, and it's just a fancy ticket gate. And all our codes would work up there, but in that building we couldn't. So I could actually physically get into the office, but I had the alarms screaming and all that. So we thought, we won't worry about that. So anyway, that's a problem that won't be there next year. We got a few little things to sort out and that we know we could do better, and we're going to do them better. We're taking notes now. We're talking now. We're looking for caterers now. We had some cracker vendors. Coffee Lips, the ladies at Coffee Lips, they were lovely. And we actually took tables and chairs on the Sunday over in front of them so people could sit and have a coffee and have a little break. The Ace Espresso from Gingin, the coffee lady, she was a cracker. Pucker Nosh from Gingin, they were a lovely couple. They're going to bring their Fergie next year. Old Bill the slushy man, Saturday he didn't sell anything. Sunday he sold a bit, and he was nice about it. He was in his 80s, old Bill, been doing it for 18 years, and he said, he'd like to make money, but that's not his main concern nowadays. We had an ice cream van, another fella, Twist and Turn or some bloody thing. Well, he never paid and whinged about the site and bloody, my paperwork was a bit crook and all that. So, we probably don't need him next year. The wood-fired pizza man, because of the rain Saturday, well, he couldn't come and set up. He was telling me with those ovens, you know, the clay ovens and all that, if they get too wet, they've got to fire them gently for quite a few hours and get all the moisture out of them. And he said sometimes it can be 3.5, 4 hours just to dry them out before they can cook, and it just wasn't worth it. And I said, no, look, that's, yeah, you've got to make a deal, work it out. We had one young fella in a German sausage van, and I put him next to the bar area, and I asked him could he stay there till 8 p.m, you know, until people had a feed and all that, because we had to sell, you know, their licence said, yeah, are you selling food with it? And we said, well, yeah, we are. So I said, can you stay at 8 p.m, because the pizza man couldn't turn up, and I turned around about 2 o'clock and he was gone. And next day, there was a lady had a good business and she sold it to him, and she started another one now and they worked together. So next morning she turned up, and yeah, she did a great job. She was a happy lady. I'd rather her. But yeah, old mate, he just packed up. I didn't think he was selling enough apparently, and didn't talk to me. Just next time I went up there, I said, where's he? And I was, oh, he's gone. Yeah, he wasn't selling much, so he's gone. So I was, oh, well, fair enough. And he had to go to the Shalom markets on the Sunday, so the other lady come and filled in. So yeah, the vendors, Dion sells, he sells like cast iron ware, you know, bells with John Deere on them, and Ronaldson Tippett emblems and things like that for your wall. Look, it's nice stuff, cast iron stuff. It's probably, it's not made in Australia, I wouldn't think. I think it'd be Asian made, but he's got these bits and pieces. He had 2 gazebos set up, and on the Saturday, even in the rain, he sold a bit. But later in the day, he said, oh, look, he said, his gazebos were leaking, his missus couldn't get around much. You know, she was a bit little handicapped, you know, getting older with her walking and all that, and it was just a shitty thing. So he said, look, I'm going home. I said, yeah, look, you're mad if you don't, I think. So, but he'll be back next year. So, yeah, all in all, it was a good thing. It was a great atmosphere. The club members weren't snickering, fighting, buggering around. It was a good feel all around. We had a heap of help. Ed and Jan that were doing the fencing for the engine compounds. Well, old Ed, he fell over and hurt his shoulder. He was telling me Monday. And they went back and forth with the club gear, and I just laying in bed thinking about it, and I thought, well, what a silly idea. They got to go right across the other side to where we have the club container. Next time we'll get a tilt tray and we'll pop the container on site. Done. Yeah, just fine tuning. That's what we've got to think about. So, anyway, enough of me flapping my gums with a rally report. I'll leave you in peace. I don't know what's going to happen this next week. The next tractor instalments on the 65. I'd like to get that done now. I've only got to do the final drives and the diff, and I stopped doing that. But you know, after the weekend driving around, I've still got a bloody limp, but unloading tractors and all that, my knee's going remarkably well. So, but yeah, now I've done the farm all. I'm going to take the farm all to like Kangaroo and Agro Trend in town here and all that sort of thing, and I haven't got an awful lot to do on this 65, so I'll drop the crown wheel in. I'll try and film doing a final drive, one side or the other, just to show you how to do it. The PDO seal's ready. You've seen all the hydraulics and all that, but then they'll probably be long and boring doing panels, because I'm shit at doing panels. But anyway, we'll work that out. But I would like to get the 65 going next. Yeah, I've got front wheels and tyres here waiting to go on. I've got to sort out those pressed steel centres I bought for the 65 to make it light enough to carry, and go and buy some more tyres. It's only bloody money, eh? Go and get some tyres. So anyway, we'll see how that all goes. But so coming up in the shed, I'm hoping to get back on the 65, clear that, and look, maybe even clear like the Massey Ferguson multi-power, the 135, well, all the mechanicals are done. The arse ends together, the axles are done, the clutch, the whole bit. And it's only paint and cosmetics and foot plates and things like that to do. So I'd like to get them out of the way. And once I've got them so I can drive them around, well, yeah, I can start bringing other things in or sort other stuff out. So Anyway, see what happens. Thanks for stopping by. Have a great week, everyone. And Queensland Tractor Spares, new sign. That's where the Sparex one was. Dino put a sign up there for me. So don't forget, get in contact with them. And we'll catch you all next week. See ya.